The rain fell in sheets across the windshield as Michael Reeves pulled his truck to the side of the deserted highway. Through the downpour, he could just make out the crumpled police cruiser, its lights still flashing weakly against the darkness. What he discovered in those next few moments would change not only his life forever, but send shockwaves through an entire police department and ultimately reveal a truth no one was prepared to face. If you're gripped by this story already, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more incredible true stories that will leave you speechless. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end of this one. Michael hadn't planned to be on this stretch of road tonight. As a single father of 2 young daughters, his evenings usually consisted of homework help, bedtime stories, and collapsing into exhaustion once the girls were asleep. But tonight was different. His youngest, Emma, had developed a high fever, and the rural clinic 20 miles from their small town was the only place open at this hour. After getting Emma's prescription filled and seeing her fever begin to break, Michael had started the long drive home, his mind already on tomorrow's challenges. He'd need to call his boss and explain why he'd be late again, the 3rd time this month. Being both mother and father to his girls since his wife's death 3 years ago had been a constant balancing act, one that left him perpetually exhausted. The storm had come out of nowhere, turning what should have been a quick trip into a white-knuckle drive through sheets of rain and howling wind. Michael had just rounded a sharp curve when his headlights caught the twisted metal of the police cruiser, half hidden in the ditch. "Stay here, sweetheart," he told Emma, who had finally fallen asleep in her booster seat. "Daddy needs to check something." The moment his feet hit the muddy ground, Michael was drenched. He stumbled down the embankment, calling out as he approached the vehicle. "Hello? Officer? Can you hear me?" The driver's side door hung open at an unnatural angle. Inside, slumped against the deployed airbag, was a female police officer. Blood streaked down her face from a gash on her forehead, and her breathing came in shallow, ragged gasps. Michael's first aid training from his construction job kicked in. He carefully supported her neck while checking her pulse, weak but present. "Officer, can you hear me? I'm going to call for help." The woman's eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, then locking onto his face with surprising intensity. "No phone," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the storm. "Not safe." "You need an ambulance," Michael insisted, already reaching for his cell phone. Her hand shot out with unexpected strength, gripping his wrist. "Listen to me," she said, each word clearly an effort. "My name is Detective Samantha Wells. There's a flash drive in my pocket. Take it." Michael hesitated, confusion and concern battling within him. "Detective, you're hurt." "Let me call, please," she interrupted, her voice cracking. "They'll kill me if they find it. Take it to Captain Rivera, only Rivera. Tell him." She paused, coughing painfully, "Tell him I found the connection. The evidence links Chief Hargrove directly to the West Side murders." Michael felt as though the ground had shifted beneath him. Chief Hargrove was practically a celebrity in their county, a decorated officer who had transformed their police department and was rumored to be considering a run for mayor. "The chief?" Michael echoed in disbelief. "Detective, you might be confused from the accident." "Not confused," she insisted, her breathing becoming more labored. "This wasn't an accident. They ran me off the road. I've been investigating for months. The evidence is all there, proof that Hargrove has been protecting the real killers, taking payoffs, orchestrating cover-ups. He's been using his position to..." Another fit of coughing interrupted her. Michael's mind raced. His daughters depended on him, getting involved in something like this could put them at risk. But the desperation in the detective's eyes made it impossible to walk away. "My little girl is in the car," he said quietly. "I can't." "I understand," Samantha whispered, her eyes softening. "I have a daughter too. She's 6. That's why I couldn't stop investigating, even when they threatened me. These monsters have killed 3 children already." The mention of children changed everything for Michael. With trembling fingers, he accepted the small flash drive she pressed into his palm. "Captain Rivera," she repeated. "No one else. There's a letter in there too, explaining everything. And Michael," she added, surprising him with the use of his name, which he hadn't given her. "How do you know my name?" he asked. A faint smile touched her bloodied lips. "Your wife, Sarah. I was the responding officer the night of her accident. I never forgot your face." The revelation hit Michael like a physical blow. The night that had destroyed his world, left his daughters motherless, and sent him spiraling into grief and single parenthood, this woman had been there, had been the one to tell him Sarah wasn't coming home. Before he could process this connection, headlights appeared on the road above, slowing as they approached his parked truck. "Go," Samantha urged. "Now. If it's them, they can't find you here." "I can't just leave you," Michael protested. "My backup is 10 minutes out," she lied, and they both knew it. "I called it in before the crash." "Please, Michael. For your daughters. For mine." With one last agonizing look at the injured detective, Michael scrambled up the embankment, the flash drive clutched tightly in his fist. He reached his truck just as another vehicle pulled to a stop behind it, an unmarked black SUV with tinted windows. Michael forced himself to move calmly, checking on Emma, who mercifully remained asleep, before sliding into the driver's seat. In his rearview mirror, he watched as two men in dark raincoats emerged from the SUV, their attention focused on the wrecked police cruiser below. With shaking hands, Michael started his engine and pulled carefully back onto the highway, fighting the urge to floor the accelerator. Only when the scene had disappeared from his mirrors did he allow himself to breathe again. The flash drive seemed to burn in his pocket as he drove through the storm, his mind reeling with the implications of what had just happened. Detective Samantha Wells had recognized him from the worst night of his life, and now she had entrusted him with information that could bring down the most powerful law enforcement officer in the county, information people were apparently willing to kill for. By the time Michael reached home, the rain had stopped, but the storm in his mind had only intensified. After carrying Emma to her bed and checking on 9-year-old Lily, who was sleeping peacefully, he sat at his kitchen table and stared at the flash drive. Part of him wanted to destroy it, to protect his family from whatever dangerous conspiracy he had stumbled into. But another part, the part that remembered the determination in Samantha's eyes, the part that thought of her 6-year-old daughter, knew he couldn't walk away. With a deep breath, Michael plugged the drive into his laptop. What he found inside shocked him to his core. Photos, financial records, witness statements, and a detailed letter from Detective Wells laid out a horrifying truth. Chief Hargrove had been systematically protecting a ring of powerful men responsible for the murders of 3 children from the county's poorest neighborhoods. The evidence was meticulous, damning, and absolutely clear. The letter ended with a personal note: "If you're reading this, I may already be dead. But my daughter, Zoe, deserves to grow up in a world where justice matters more than power. So do all our children." Michael sat back, overwhelmed by the weight of what he now knew. According to the files, Captain Rivera was the only other officer Samantha had trusted, the only one she believed wasn't compromised by Hargrove's influence. Sleep was impossible that night. Michael checked on his daughters repeatedly, irrationally afraid that somehow, someone already knew what he had learned. By morning, he had made his decision. After dropping the girls at school with extra tight hugs, Michael drove to the police station in the neighboring county, where Captain Rivera was stationed. The detective's warning echoed in his mind: trust no one else. Captain Rivera was a stern-faced man with salt and pepper hair and eyes that had seen too much. When Michael asked to speak with him privately, mentioning Samantha Wells' name, those eyes widened almost imperceptibly before the captain led him to a small conference room. "How do you know Detective Wells?" Rivera asked once the door was closed. "She gave me this last night," Michael said, placing the flash drive on the table. "Her cruiser was wrecked on Highway 16. She was injured, maybe badly. She said to give this only to you." Rivera's professional composure cracked. Samantha's been missing since yesterday afternoon. Her last check-in was that she was following a lead on the West Side cases. He picked up the flash drive with reverence. Did she say anything else? Michael hesitated only briefly before recounting everything: the crash, Samantha's accusations against Chief Hargrove, the men in the SUV who had arrived as he was leaving. Rivera listened without interruption, his expression growing grimmer by the second. When Michael finished, the captain was silent for a long moment. "Mr. Reeves," he finally said, "what you've just told me confirms our worst fears. Detective Wells has been working deep undercover for months, investigating corruption we suspected reached to the highest levels of the department. But even I didn't know she had gathered enough evidence to implicate Hargrove directly." "What happens now?" Michael asked. "Now," Rivera said, inserting the flash drive into his computer, "we move very carefully. If what Samantha found is as solid as I think it is, we'll need to coordinate with the FBI. This goes beyond local jurisdiction." As the files loaded on the screen, Rivera's face paled. "My God," he whispered. "She did it. She actually found the connection." Michael leaned forward, catching glimpses of photos showing Chief Hargrove with several well-dressed men, financial statements showing large deposits to offshore accounts, and most disturbing of all, crime scene photos of 3 young victims. "These children," Rivera explained, his voice tight with controlled anger, "all disappeared from the same neighborhood over the past 2 years. All from families too poor or too afraid to push when the investigation stalled. Samantha never believed the official line that they were runaway cases. She kept digging, even when ordered to stop." A knock at the door made both men jump. Rivera quickly ejected the flash drive and pocketed it before calling, "Come in." A young officer entered, his face ashen. "Captain, we just got word. Detective Wells was found in her crashed cruiser on Highway 16. She's alive but critical, en route to Memorial Hospital now." Relief flooded through Michael, followed immediately by concern. "Will she be safe there?" Rivera understood the implication instantly. "Officer Chen, I need you to personally escort 2 of our most trusted uniforms to Memorial. Detective Wells is to have round-the-clock protection, no visitors except medical personnel who've been vetted. Clear?" "Yes, sir," Chen responded, clearly sensing the urgency without understanding its cause. After the officer left, Rivera turned back to Michael. "You and your family may be at risk now. I can arrange protection." "My daughters," Michael interrupted, sudden fear gripping him. "I need to get them." "I'll send officers to their school immediately," Rivera assured him. "We'll bring them to a safe location until this is resolved." The next 48 hours passed in a blur of safe houses, FBI agents, and mounting evidence as Rivera and a small team of trusted officers worked with federal authorities to build an airtight case against Chief Hargrove and his associates. Michael and his daughters were moved to a secure location outside the county, where Lily and Emma tried to make sense of their sudden vacation. Michael told them only that they were helping some police officers with important work, but Lily, perceptive beyond her years, knew something serious was happening. "Is this about the police lady?" she asked on their second night in the safe house. Michael nearly dropped the plate he was washing. "What police lady, sweetheart?" "The one who was hurt in your truck." "I wasn't really asleep," Lily admitted. "I heard you talking to her." Michael sat down beside his daughter, realizing he should have known better than to underestimate her awareness. "Yes, it's about her. She's a very brave person who discovered some bad people doing wrong things. We're helping make sure those people can't hurt anyone else." Lily considered this with solemn eyes. "Like Mom would have wanted us to do." Michael pulled her close, his throat tight. "Exactly like Mom would have wanted." On the morning of the 3rd day, Captain Rivera arrived at the safe house with news. "We're moving today. Detective Wells regained consciousness last night." "She's awake?" Michael felt a surge of relief. What did she say? That's the thing, Rivera said, a note of wonder in his voice. The first words out of her mouth were asking about you and your daughters. She was worried they might have targeted you after she gave you the evidence. Something warm and unexpected bloomed in Michael's chest. Can I see her? Rivera nodded. Actually, that's why I'm here. She's asking for you. The hospital room was bright with morning sunlight when Michael entered. Samantha Wells looked smaller than he remembered, pale against the white sheets, with bandages covering much of her head and a cast on her left arm. But her eyes, sharp, intelligent eyes that had recognized him from a moment 3 years ago, were alert and focused. Michael Reeves, she said, her voice stronger than it had been that night on the highway. The man who saved not just my life, but this entire case. I only did what anyone would have done, he demurred. A smile touched her lips. We both know that's not true. Most people would have called 911 and kept driving. You stayed. You listened. You risked everything to help a stranger. Not a complete stranger, Michael said quietly. You were there the night I lost Sarah. Samantha's expression softened. I never forgot your family. In our line of work, we see people on their worst days, and most of the time, we move on to the next crisis. But sometimes, certain faces stay with you. The dignity you showed that night, the way you thought of your daughters even through your own grief, it left an impression. Before Michael could respond, the door opened again, and a small girl with Samantha's eyes and a riot of dark curls peeked in. Mommy, the child said hesitantly. Zoe, Samantha's face transformed with love. Come here, baby. As the little girl ran to her mother's bedside, Michael noticed a woman following behind, Samantha's sister, he would later learn, who had been caring for Zoe during the investigation. Mr. Reeves, Samantha said, holding her daughter close with her uninjured arm, this is my daughter, Zoe. Zoe, this is the very brave man I told you about. The little girl regarded him solemnly. Thank you for helping my mommy. Something about her serious expression, so like Lily's, touched Michael deeply. You're very welcome. I have 2 daughters too, you know. Are they here? Zoe asked hopefully. Not right now, but maybe you can meet them soon, Michael suggested, glancing at Samantha, who nodded with a smile. Captain Rivera joined them, bringing news that transformed the room's atmosphere. It's happening. The FBI just arrested Hargrove and 3 others. They're executing search warrants at 7 locations simultaneously. Samantha closed her eyes briefly, tears of relief slipping down her cheeks. It's really over? Thanks to your work, yes, Rivera confirmed. The evidence was irrefutable. And with your testimony plus what we've gathered since, they don't stand a chance. The weeks that followed brought dramatic changes to the county. As Chief Hargrove and his co-conspirators faced federal charges, the full extent of their crimes shocked the community. The case made national headlines, with Michael's role as the civilian who helped break it open becoming a minor sensation. For Michael and his daughters, life gradually returned to a new normal. The construction company he worked for gave him a promotion and flexible hours after his boss learned of his actions. Lily and Emma, initially shaken by the upheaval, soon adapted with the resilience of children. And then there was Samantha. During her recovery, she and Michael began a friendship built on their unusual shared history. He brought his daughters to visit her in the hospital, where they immediately bonded with Zoe. As Samantha healed and returned to work, now as the department's youngest ever detective lieutenant, she and Michael continued to find reasons to stay in touch. 6 months after that rainy night on the highway, Michael sat on a park bench watching as Lily, Emma, and Zoe played on the swings. Beside him, Samantha sipped coffee from a travel mug, her injuries healed but for a small scar above her eyebrow. I never thanked you properly, she said suddenly. You.